am so excited today to be here with Natalie Ledwell, who is the co-founder of Mind Movies. She's also the host of the Inspiration Show and Wake Up. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Akasha and how that informs who you are as a unique and powerful soul. And we're going to talk a little bit about this amazing tool that Natalie has created with Mind Movies. And we'll just have a little fun chatting about how all of these expansive thoughts, ideas, energies, quantum fields start to merge together and support our lives. So welcome, Natalie.
Hi, thanks for having me, Lisa. And I'm really enjoying. I'm looking forward to this very juicy conversation because we're talking not just about how we can create outcomes in our life, but the other layer of that is like, well, what's influencing us from either not doing that or from being able to do that in a really empowered way.
Yes, I love that because, of course, most of my clients come to me because they feel stuck and
Mm.
they're like, why can't I make more money or create the life that my heart desires? And often, of course, what we'll do is access the Akashic records, go into the layers of the Akasha, and start to ask in that realm, what is stopping us, what is blocking us, what
Mm.
is keeping us from creating what we would love to create in our lives. And so when you work with the Mind Movies, Nat, do you teach people ways to also release those kind of blocks?
I do, and I think that as well, I'm more of a science base. I've spent many years working with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I love that all the science of knowing why we think the way we do. Like epigenetics is one of these new sciences that really has helped us to understand that our childhood conditioning does help a lot to shape who we are. But then when you add that with something like the Akasha, then we know that it's not just the childhood environment that we've been in, but it is also what has preceded us in previous lives that we've brought in as well,
Right.
which is a whole nother ball game. And so when I'm working with people to help them manifest what they want, that's often when these kind of programs and blocks and behavior patterns start to show up because we're challenging them. We were like, right, my conscious mind is telling me that I want to, create this amount of money, do this kind of work, have this kind of business, have this amazing relationship or whatever that is. And then as we start to move towards that goal and we start to apply, the steps of manifesting, which is a lot of what I teach, that's when you start to have these thoughts come to the surface, of telling you why you're never going to be successful and why you can't do that and all these excuses. And then these behavior patterns like procrastination and overwhelm start to show up as well. And you're like, oh, okay. And the thing is, if we're not stretching ourselves and stepping outside our comfort zone, then, these things never bubble to the surface because our subconscious mind is keeping us in this safe little bubble. But it's, once we start to go, well, no, I want more, I want something different, that's when they start to become very obvious.
Right. And it is fascinating because, of course, it's unconscious. And so, even if it's from this lifetime, it's very often something that we don't remember, that we were not aware of in so many different levels and layers. And that's why I love to access this, the information, the, of course, quantum field, right? So,
Yeah.
in all this work that I've done, we've really come to realize that the energy, it is an infinite energy of the Akashic field or of Akasha, and it is part of source and it is part of the quantum field. So to me, the exciting gift with that is that when we get triggered and realize this block to creating loving, supportive relationship is in the unconscious, and most likely, of course, in a few other past lives.
Mm.
And we can go into this quantum field where there is no time and space.
Yeah.
And then we can really do some deep healing in the quantum field. to me, I always see it like plucking out these past lives and being in the middle of the spinning ball instead of what most of us kind of imagine a timeline, like, yesterday and the day before, and 500 years ago is way back there, but it's very linear. And when we can start to see it and understand it as something that is always happening, then we can start to wrap our minds around it, I think, which is useful when we're clearing it.
Yeah.
And then I teach my students, or I work with my clients to literally go into those past lives and heal the trauma there. So we can heal it, all those past lives, all the way up into the childhood trauma, the trauma from 10 years ago or 10 days ago, right? And so it makes a really huge energetic shift.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would be very helpful with people.
Oh my goodness. Well, see, here's the thing that I do know. I'm one of 8 kids. So I have 7 siblings. And I actually just had a sister and a niece visiting from Australia for a couple of weeks. And we're sitting and talking, remembering childhood situations. And there will be one situation for which all 8 of us were present for. And we all perceived, responded, reacted to that situation completely differently. Now, what I love about the Akasha is that it helps us to understand why we reacted the way that we did. For some of us, something will happen and half of us won't even remember it. But maybe for 1 or 2 of us, it changed the trajectory of our life because of the way that we responded to it, or the way that we were perceiving it. And it's not just personality, it's not just age, even though these things are very important they are an influence on how we would be able to see that situation, but it's so much more than that. And the Akasha helps us not only to understand that, which is just, okay, first of all, it's relieving because you go, okay. But it also, because, I work with a lot of people who are in this stage of their life where they're like, I'm a little lost. I know I want something else. I feel like I'm destined to do more, but I don't know what that is. The Akasha also helps you to understand or to identify what that is moving forward as well, because we are attracted to certain things because of everything that we've brought in, and add that to the mix of what our experience is in this lifetime. And that's, it explains everything.
It does. And, that's what I always love to tell people. It's like, you are so unique. I don't think most people have any clue as to how unique you are, because just as your example, of course, there's the oldest and there's the baby, and that's a lot of years apart. So right there, that has, is it a boy? Is it a girl? What's going on? How does that relate into all of those human aspects? But then, of course, when you do start to think, most of us have lived 400 to 800 lives on Earth alone.
Wow.
So all of those lifetimes that I've had, which are different than all of the lifetimes that you've had as a soul.
Yep.
Right there, the uniqueness like compounds crazily. And then we start to think of our traumas and our triggers, and of course, our gifts and talents. And so when we look at, how can we live on purpose? What is that purpose mean to us? And we really start to realize that not only do we have many purposes, they're often very varied in one life. And so I always, tell my clients, I'm like, what makes you happy, right? And those, I'm sure, are a lot of what we're wanting to create when we do our mind movies and we start to really create and manifest our soul desire. It's like those are connected to the gifts that you've honed in other lifetimes. What's easy, right? What can I do that's easy, right? So to me, when I realized that it was easy to access the Akashic records, I'm like, well, that really is,
Well, I know, and sometimes it's not easy, but it's your dharma anyway.
That's right.
I'm working on I have created a school curriculum to help kids with their mental health and emotional intelligence and so forth. And believe me, from the outside looking in, you go, okay, well, I don't have children. I left school at the end of year 10, so I was 15 years old. And so I'm probably an unlikely suspect to be able to carry a project like this. And yet every time it kind of gets really tough, I'm like, oh, I've got to walk away. This is too hard. Something else drops in, or I learn a lesson, or I have a different expansion. So I'm like, okay, I can't walk away from this because, everything keeps pulling me back in. But, accessing the Akasha helps me to understand why I've been given this project, why I'm the one to carry it. Whereas, if you look at the things just in life, you're just like, this is crazy. Why are you doing this? Which I've asked myself many times. Yeah.
Right, of course. And again, not only are we unique, we are so complex, because as we start to look at all of that karma, which is really all about learning and growth, right? Dharma, purposes, personalities, what the heck, right? That we have all of that, in that mix. And it's why I really love to tell people that learning to access your own Akashic records is one of the greatest empowerment tools on the planet, because it's something you can use every single day to ask more questions, right? Why am I doing this? Okay, I get why I'm doing this. Is this next step the highest and best next step, or is there something else for me to do, right? Is there a business partner or somebody to support me in growing this business or in doing this project? And we can really check into our Akashic records, because we write those soul contracts with all those people to support us, right? Whether it's personally, in relationship, or in a business relationship. And so being able to have that gift, to have that tool of accessing your Akashic records is very profound. And I know transformational for all the students I've taught. And so, that's, of course, why I love sharing this wisdom of the Akasha. And I'm just thrilled to have you here with me, Natalie, and have your wisdom rolled in with us, because it really, we often think we're really different, right? I'm more maybe science-based, I do this, or, when it's different. But when we kind of get to know each other in some of these other levels and layers, we realize, wow, I bet I've known you in some past lives.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure. And that's the thing that I love about this, because we can have one particular modality or one particular way of doing things. And every single person on the planet that has strived for a specific goal is going to come across roadblocks, is going to come across speed humps. But that's just the way that is. But for a lot of people, that could be completely immobilizing. But when you have this ability to be able to access the records, to be able to ask those questions, to get the insight, because remember, when we even talk about something like the law of attraction, we are leveraging the help of the universe. So, to have the ability to be able to sit in contemplation and ask those questions and receive answers to that, it helps fasten up that manifestation process so much more, and it helps us to keep our momentum moving forward.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you, Natalie. Well, I think on that note, I think that's a beautiful place to end our wonderful conversation. I so appreciate you coming and sharing some of your wisdom with everyone. And I actually look forward to seeing you soon. So thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.